Welcome to the Organic Agriculture webinar series. Today, we are in discussion with Mr. Sanjay Susanta Gamage. Sanjay is a food processing expert with many years of experience. Welcome to the program, Sanjay.
Thank you very much for giving the opportunity to link with you.
Right. Sanjay, let's start with a small introduction to yourself.
Dr. Chatura, first of all, I would like to thank you, GIZ team, and yourself for the given opportunity to share our experience as one of leading dedicated organic and fair trade food exporter in Sri Lanka. A bit about myself. Actually, I have joined Biofoods with my management background in 2018 after return from the overseas employment. Currently working here as a head of quality and safety by leading the quality assurance, food safety management, occupational health and safety, and social compliance function.
Now, Sanjay, food processing, specifically food processing to standards, it has become a very important component of any value chain, any agriculture export-oriented value chain. And so I want to ask you, why this food processing segment has become such an important element of these value chains?
Any value chain, like either it is organic or conventional, the food processing phase is very important, as here in the point where you transform raw material into final product. So here we have to ensure the integrity of product by applying required process control in order to avoid the food adulteration. So this is the key fact. Any organic food item can be considered as organic only when the integrity is maintained throughout the value chain. So these are the main reason why food processing is very important element in the any food processing value chain, Dr. Chatura. Also, in other way around, if you look at the business perspective, if you want to have a sustainable business model in food industry, then you have to produce value-added product to the market, where you can have an additional margin rather than pricing it for the raw material value. So in this point also, it is very important to have the food processing facility throughout the food value chain. So end of the day, our objective is to assure the food safety and compliance throughout the food value chain, and the advantage is having the food processing facility. Another point, we can assure our product safety since entire food value chain is under our control.
Right, Sanjay. Thank you. And Sanjay, I was trying to put this whole food processing concept into a framework. And one of the things that I could find is a concept called food safety management system. Will you be able to elaborate something on this? What is a food safety management system?
Yes, Dr. Chatura. Actually, food safety is one of key requirement in any food processing facility. Quality and other aspects also very important. However, if we take it very simply, food safety is something that we can do to eliminate physical, chemical, biological, including allergens like hazard from the food chain, to avoid any foodborne illnesses to the consumer. So that is the basic. However, when we consider about the management systems, yes, it is the systematic approach to manage anything. So in an overall, food safety management system is the systematic approach to eliminate the foodborne illnesses by controlling the hazards from the harvesting to eaten point, by adhering to the necessary food safety guidelines and standard, maybe HACCP, ISO 22000, BRC, FSSC, FSMA. Like there are so many safety standard and guidelines where we can implement the proper food safety management system.
Right, Sanjay. And so what was clear from the beginning, Sanjay, as you mentioned, is that organic food processing is kind of different to conventional food processing, because organic, there we try to adhere to standards, to make sure that the process follows the particular standard and there are no adulterations, and we are maintaining the conformity, right? And Sanjay, I want to focus more onto the process, which involves from taking a product from the factory gate up to the export point. So in this kind of activity, Sanjay, what are the main steps that we have to be focused on?
Yes, Chandra. In any food processing facility, like either it is, as I mentioned before, either it is conventional or organic, the food processing step might be same for the based on the product that you are going to produce in that facility, whether it is finishable product like coconut milk or spices, tea, whatsoever. The processing requirements and steps more or less similar, but the most important fact, as long as you have the dedicated organic food facility, management of food processing steps are very easy. But if you have the conventional and organic together, then there are certain requirements to avoid cross contamination. So as I said, there is no significant difference in organic and conventional food processing. However, like during each production step, there are certain controls that we have to take in order to ensure the prevention of cross contamination from the conventional products, raw material, or ingredients, right? So each production facility, like if we consider about biofood perspective, generally we have raw material receiving, then inspection and segregation, storing, washing, drying, right? Then blanching, mixing and blending depend on the requirement, including the ingredients, thermal treatment or slicing, then final product inspection and quality control activities, analysis, then packaging, labeling and dispatch. So these are the basic process steps in any process line, in any food process line, Dr. Chandra.
Right, Sanjay. Now, so those are the main steps. Now, in your experience, what are the steps that can easily expose to contamination, or we have to be very careful?
Chatura, each and every step is very important. As long as you are focusing on the food safety, quality, then organic requirements, in each and every step, the main thing that we have to consider about how we are going to avoid cross contamination, because at the stage of harvesting there might be very less risk, because by practicing the right agricultural practices and ICS system that we have and other technologies that they use, this help to produce the good raw material. But when it's come to the other steps in the food chain, there are certain stages like post-harvesting stage, transportation. In addition to Chatura, if we look at the main steps, what we have highlighted previously, receiving of raw material. So this is the process step where the food processing facility receiving the main raw material. So here we have certain guidelines, raw material acceptance criteria. Very importantly, we do look at the specification, whether raw material has come according to the agreed specification. And also very important to verify the supplier details, because we are getting raw material only from the approved suppliers who has followed the right agricultural practices, organic practices, and other food safety requirements that we have communicated. Then lot identification is also very important at this point, where if the material is inspected by quality controller and production related staff, once it verified and approved as a within the specs, then we will allow it to be into our warehouse. It could be a chiller storage, it could be a ambient storage. Regardless the storage, we are allowing it to be in the storage. So when it's come to the storage phase, as long as you have dedicated organic food processing facility, we are not much bothered about the segregation. But when it's come to the food safety point of view, we have to maintain the first in, first out practices. It is the norm in any processing facility. So we wanted to make sure that the material comes first, proceed first, and goes to the final storage first. So that in that purpose, we have to maintain the right segregation. Then hygiene requirement, we have to assure the right hygiene requirement at the warehouse or storage facility to avoid other cross contamination. Always the raw material, we always store only the dedicated raw material. We are not going to mix up with other ingredients or other packaging materials. So all these things have to have the separate storage facility in the food industry. Then the next main step would be washing. Like raw material washing, also one of the key area where we focus to remove the mainly impurities like agro impurities or other impurities. And in this point, Chatura, it is very important to focus about quality of the water. If we can have the treated water, it's very good, because this point could be the one of the cross contamination area. It is not only for the food safety but also for the organic. Like if you use the chlorinated water, there could be an impact to the final product organic status. Right? Then we do use like drying steps. So mainly we are going to control the moisture here. And like if you take the example as black pepper, normally we have to maintain at least 12% or less in order to assure the final product quality and the food safety. So in this step, it is helping to control the microbial counts as well. Then also we are doing the blanching, like for the certain products. So the main purpose of the step to deactivate the certain enzymes in food that have the impact for the shelf life. Then there will be another step like mixing and blending. So here it is mainly depend on the process requirement to add some additives or any other same production batches to get the right homogenization. Like such a purpose, we do the mixing of the same batch. Then thermal treatment like sterilizing or retorting, such as steps, main focus is to reduce the microbiological count to an acceptable level in order to assure the final product safety at the time of consuming. There are different type of packaging. Mainly, we have to consider about the food contact, primary packaging materials and the secondary. So here, primary packaging materials are more critical, and it has the real concern because it will contact with the food directly, could have the impact for the final product safety due to migration or any other reason where we can have the cross contamination. Then the labeling also fall under critical requirement, not only in the Sri Lankan point of view, but also at Europe or USA market, though everybody is looking at the details written on the label. So very importantly, we have to mention the certification status, the organic status of the product, the grade of the product, lot number, net weight, gross weight, then necessary logos, then of course best before date, nutritional information. Likewise, there are so many requirements. So here we have to consider about the local and international regulation related to the food labeling, and also the consumer or customer needs and expectation.
Sanjay, one area that our viewers might be very interested to know is what are the usual contaminants Can you name some of the usual contaminants?
If you look at the contaminants, like at the farmer level and in the agricultural phase, it is common to have the pesticide residues and sometimes glyphosate kind of things. But when it's come to the processing phase, those are it's not possible to cross contaminate. So in factory phases or during the transportation in this area, commonly we have encountered the contaminant like pollutant like anthraquinone, calamide, diphenylamine. So again, it is not only from the process step, but also sometimes from the packaging material as well. So, uh, when we use the direct food contact packaging material, like for example, tea bags, we are using the filter papers. Then we used envelopes. So all these are printed with the different type of inks. So these ink might have some kind of uh, organic organically not allowed or not accepted materials. So these contaminant could have the impact for the final product.
That's very interesting to know. The usual contaminants, especially the ones that you can get after you receiving the stuff into your factory floor. That's very interesting. And Sanjay, now I want to take your attention into standards, food processing standards for any given food processing factory is very important. And there are a lot of entrepreneurs who want to get into food processing sector, especially in the organic food processing sector. And Sanjay, can we highlight some of the, let's say, must obtain standards for these, and I want you to explain them as well.
We can look this question into two phases actually. When we consider about the food safety, quality, social compliance requirement, and occupational health and safety requirement, all these fall in under mainly ISO standards, and it is really very important for any food processing facility, right? So like when you consider about the final product safety, if you're trying to maintain the organic standard alone, it won't help the organization for the continual improvements. So if we have the integrated management system with such a food safety management system and the organic standard, it will help for the organization. So this is the secret what we have in here biofood. Like there are so many food safety standard where we can find like ISO 22000 food safety management system, then FSSC 22000, BRC retail consortium standard, then FSMA food safety management system, which is especially designed by the FDA Food Safety Modernization Act. Then there are some of these standards falling under GFSI. When we're looking at the quality management side, also it is important to focus on ISO 9001. Again, when we have the sustainable business, we can't forget about our environment. So any food processing facility can focus ISO 14001 to protect the environment and manage the environment aspect and impact. Then ISO 45001 mainly for our people, how we are going to manage the occupational health and safety at our food processing facility. Then there are certain needs about the social compliance requirement like SMETA, SEDEX, commonly known as, then BSCI, SA 8000. All these are possible certification for any food processing facility, and each of these standards will add in an additional value to the organizational growth, Dr. Chatula. In other hand, when we looking at the organic standards, again there are so many standards where we can find from USA or Europe, or from the point of view other countries around the world, like especially EU organic regulation. Then NOP, this is National Organic Program from the USA. Then commonly known as JAS, Japanese Organic Regulation. Then Natural Land, it is purely from the German Association for the Organic Agriculture. Then BIOSIS, main organization of organic agriculture in Switzerland, right? Then again, you might hear about the Demeter, which is very interesting biodynamic agriculture practice. So all these standards are important for the food exporters or organic food producers in the local point of view. But Dr. Chatura, it is not compulsory to have all these certification, but at least one of the organic standard with the ISO or any food safety management system is very much helpful for the company growth and to assure the final product status as organic and free from the foodborne hazards.
Just because you mentioned European Union certification, EU certifications, and we all know there are changes happening to EU regulations. Will they have a significant impact on the processing sector as well?
These regulation change, of course, will have the significant impact for the food exporters. Not only to comply with product requirements, but also to comply with packaging material requirements like biodegradable packaging material is the one of requirement in this year. Other practice that there is no clear regulation for organic. As you know, organic limits, there is no clear regulation. Always the regulation come in as a generic. So as a food producers and exporters, we have the question to what, as organic exporters, to which parameters we are going to comply with. The biggest challenge, because there are some of natural contaminant, as we discussed before, like pollutant, which can still presence through, even though we manage our organic agriculture practices 100% through the our internal control system, and in other way around, we do have the good agricultural practices and all, but still there are possibilities for the contamination through the conventional agricultural practices, but which will not have significant impact. And in other way around, the contaminant naturally occurred in the soil or plant itself also have the impact for the final product organic, the limits highlighted in the test reports or whatsoever. But end of the day, when it goes to the analysis phase, there is no such a technology to identify whether it is intentionally added or naturally occurred contaminant or not. This is the one of biggest challenge what we have with this standard. And again, you might see now the technologies in the laboratories has been improved, and they have capabilities and capacity to analyze the pesticide residues or other factors up to third decimal point, which is where there is no intentional contamination or intentional added of the any pesticide or other contaminant, but end of the day, that cross contamination through unintentional or natural occurrence will be detected in this point. Then it is falling under question whether this product is still organic or not. But as a producer, we know exactly, yes, we have done the right agricultural practices and comply with the organic regulation. But when it goes to the customer, they are reluctant to accept. If we consider about all the ingredients should be organic instead of natural nowadays. Previously, we had the opportunity to use the natural ingredients, flavors or stabilizers to use in the food processing, but based on new requirement, those natural has to be changed into the organic. So now the challenge is how we are going to find the organic ingredients, organic flavors. So this is really challenging, and the finding of these will add an additional cost for the our processing, and then of course the final product price will goes up to the considerable level. So these are the challenges, and again it is real challenge to find the primary packaging material, as I clearly mentioned before. Material in compliance with these regulation, maybe like when it's come to the ink which they are using for the printing purpose, might cause for the migration of the such a contaminant to the final product, because it is the direct food contact material. Like anthraquinone, of course it's possible. Like diphenylamine, yes, it is possible. So these are real challenges, but end of the day, regardless the standard change, as a producers, as a food manufacturer, we have to find the suitable solution in order to overcome these things.
New entrepreneurs who are trying to come into organic processing has to be very vigilant about these new changes and how it can impact, to each and every step. Now, Sanjay, value addition is central for food processing, right? And biofoods has always been a pioneer in introducing new technologies into food processing. Can you mention some of the major food processing techniques that you are using? For example, IQF is something very interesting technology that is available. Can you walk us through some of these examples, Sanjay?
Chandra, as you correctly mentioned, IQF technology, individual quick frozen food processing facility at Dambulla, we have different food processing line like IQF fresh herbs, vegetables, IQF tea. Those are the most of the new products which we have been introduced into the European and USA market right now. So this is the future of the food processing, as we believe, because there is a huge demand, and people very much interested to have the fresh product rather than going for the other frozen or dehydrated products in the market. Because always in this technology, the important fact, it is providing the final product as natural. When the consumer open the pack and keep it at the ambient temperature in the normal environment, they will feel the naturalness of the product. So this is the very important technology. And also we are using the drying technologies in the spice and tea factories in order to maintain the right moisture and to control the water activity of the product. Then blanching, yes, we do have introduced blanching especially to control the enzymic reaction in order to achieve the right shelf life of the final product. As you might know, Chatura, metal detectors and X-ray scanners also very important in the agricultural process and food processing line in order to assure the metal contamination and other agro impurities are controlled through these machines. So these are also available in each and every food facility within the biofoods. So it is important to manage the raw material from harvest to transport, primary processing phase, using suitable technologies to avoid cross-contamination, which mean here actually, like even though we are looking at these type of high technologies, there are technologies, very basic technologies what we can use to prevent cross-contamination from the harvest stage to processing. Like for example, like instead of sun drying, why can't we look for the mechanical dryers, but we don't need much money for that, and we don't want to expend millions to get the small dryer. There are certain producers in the Sri Lankan place. We can introduce it and dry the product at right time and in the right place where we can avoid the cross contamination.
That's very important because some small techniques sometimes ended up giving you quite a lot of dividend in terms of maintaining the product quality. Now, Sanjay, running a food processing operation, specifically an organic food processing operation, is not an easy task at all. I'm pretty sure it's going to require quite a lot of human resource capacity. And as a final point, could you please elaborate the human resource need for this sort of a food processing activity?
It is Dr. Chatura, really important fact. Human resource, yes, we can find the human resource, same as other resources. Only fact is, are we able to find the competent people to manage organic food processing value chain? So this is the question all of the organization, I believe, currently have. But of course, yes, it is required some kind of knowledge, experience, and especially training and awareness from the experts are the key. So depend on the process technologies and process steps that you have in the process line, the number of people will be vary. But it is important to have the people with not only the educational background. I strongly believe that we have to get the people with some sort of experience in the subject, the people who have the knowledge, basic idea and exposure about the organic food processing, general food safety requirement, GMP requirements, then idea about the international and local food regulations, then legal requirements where which will have the impact for the our final product at the point of use. Also, the possible areas where the contamination could occur during the process line. And very importantly, the skill is required to take the timely decision. Even though we have good documented food safety or quality management system within the organization, but the person at the point must have the right idea, take the right decision in line operation. So all these skills, yes, available, but we have to carefully select the people when we provide when we introduce the people to handle the food processing facilities, because this is very serious. End of the day, we are producing product to consumer. The consumer could be a vulnerable group like older people or infant. So these some people with the special health condition. So our assurance and labeling information is the key fact for them to consume our product. But end of the day, if we fail to assure that, it could end up with the serious health impact. So to avoid such a, then of course we have to have the skilled people and need to select the people very carefully with their experience, I believe.
So the point is not necessarily the skills, but we have to also try to find people with good experience as well. Yeah, exactly. So Sanjay, before we wind up, if I may summarize what we discussed throughout this episode, we talked about the importance of food processing. We went through in detail in different steps involved in food processing practices. We talked about standards and we talked about technologies. And at the end of the day, we talked about EU regulations and its impact, and also the human resource need as well. So Sanjay, thank you very much for joining with us, sharing your experience and your expertise. I sincerely thank you for allocating your time and joining with us. Thank you very much.
You are welcome, Dr. Chatra, and also thank you very much to your team and GIS team for the opportunity and this discussion. And I believe this kind of webinar series will help small scale food producers to improve their knowledge and enhance the business capabilities in order to achieve more market in Europe and USA in future. Thank you very much, Dr. Chatra.
Thank you, Sanjay. And for those who were viewing us, thank you very much for joining, and we hope to see you soon.